Welcome back to Aaron and Ellie on Kirby Drive. Today is Friday, October 31st. Happy Halloween to all those who celebrate. People who are not celebrating right now are anyone who works for the Miami Dolphins, because I'm pretty sure as we speak, there are conversations happening in the front office where people are losing their jobs. They just got absolutely demolished on Thursday Night Football. Ravens 28, Dolphins 6. And you wouldn't think it, but Miami actually had a decent chance to take the lead in this game and be out front early on. I mean, they went up 3-0, right? And Lamar Jackson, who's missed the last, I don't know, 4 weeks, one of them was a bye week, but still missed the last 4 games, something like that, looked pretty shaky. Like, he looked like he hadn't played in a while. It was very apparent that he was shaking the rust off a little bit. And the Dolphins had chance after chance to take advantage of that, and yet somehow they went into half down 14-6, and it just never really looked better after that. I mean, they had the ball. Well, first of all, they gave the Ravens a gift, let them get back on their feet a little bit, because they were driving, they got a first down, and after they completed that pass, they ended up fumbling in their own end, and the Ravens returned it to like the 12-yard line. Still, the Dolphins had a chance to hold them out of the end zone. They had a chance to hold them to no points, and they just give up a wide open touchdown to Mark Andrews on fourth down. And so they're already like, you're the Dolphins, you're playing better than the Ravens. You are holding them to, you're making them punt, you're not letting them move the ball. You're moving the ball pretty easily, and then all of a sudden you just hand them a touchdown for basically they had to go 12 yards to score. And that starts your downfall, because then you go and you're driving again moving the ball pretty easily between the 20s. You get down to a 4th and 1 situation in the Ravens territory. You have a false start that backs you up 5 yards, and then you miss a field goal immediately afterwards. And I don't know. This team looked better last week whenever there were no penalties called on them, but this week they looked very undisciplined. They were at home, so there wasn't really an excuse for it. The missed field goal, whatever, it happens, but it's the direct result of your team not being prepared to go on the proper snap count on 4th down and 1. The right tackle responds to a defensive end coming down on the line, not crossing into the neutral zone, just moving down towards the center. You lose 5 yards, you can no longer go for it, and then you miss a field goal. That's a who knows how many point swing, right? Because you could have scored a touchdown on that drive, and you didn't. And then, despite all that, I'm pretty sure you're still only down by 4 points. You get a drive that starts at the Ravens' 29-yard line, and you basically have to kick a field goal immediately because you can't do anything in their end. So you had the chance to go in there and punch the Ravens in the mouth in your stadium, get the fans on your side, which I'm sure they haven't been for a long time, and instead you fumble the ball in your own end, false start, missed field goal immediately on a drive that starts on the Ravens 29. You get a big play called back for what was a really ticky-tack tripping call against Ollie Gordon. So I'll give you that one. But I mean, even towards the end of the half, like, you had chances to score. You had chances to get within, even though you're playing better than the Ravens, right? You're still down by 8 points, and you have chances to cut into this lead before you go into the halftime. And you go for it on 4th down and 2 from like the Ravens 20. And Tua just ends up throwing up a prayer to Devon Achane, who's completely blanketed in coverage, doesn't even really see the ball, and that ball just never had a chance of being completed. And so you go away with 0 points and give the Ravens a chance to go down the field and score. Now, I don't think they did, but you get the ball back, and the perfect encapsulation of the entire night for the Dolphins was their Hail Mary attempt just before halftime. I mean, we all know that Tua Tagovailoa does not have the strongest arm, right? I think that's been a knock on him since college. This was just like the saddest play of all time. I mean, he drops back to pass for the Hail Mary. And yeah, the Ravens have 5 guys standing around at the line, but no one's really rushing the passer until all of a sudden they kind of just like decide to give like 50% effort. And as soon as the first guy comes in to try and hit Tua, he just curls up in a ball and falls down, just self-sacks himself immediately. And obviously the crowd is booing, because what the hell even is that? Just try and launch it or something. I don't know. I don't know what was going through Tua's head right there. I'm sure it was just, I'd rather be anywhere but here right now. trying to throw this pass. I don't want to get hit for this game, which I don't know. It was just an embarrassing half of football for the Dolphins because you had the Ravens looking sluggish. You had them at home. You had the chance to go up on them big time, really. You gifted them 7 points and then struggled to get anything done after the fact. And yeah, you held the Ravens to 4 first downs the entire first half. The Ravens got the ball out of halftime, 5 first downs on their first drive, scored to go up 21-6, and the game was over after that. It was over. You had a chance to try and stick it to them. Try and give yourself some space for whenever Lamar Jackson eventually got it figured out. And instead, you did nothing, and he got it figured out. He ended up going for 18 of 23, 204 yards, 4 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson is the king of those like barely 200-yard games, but like a million touchdown passes. I don't know. Obviously, the Ravens. I mean, I don't know. They're okay, right? I think Lamar is very good. I think he's probably the best player in the NFL right now. So obviously, as long as you have him on the field, you're gonna have a chance. Their division is horrible, so I would put all my money on them winning the AFC North because the Steelers, like I said, doesn't look like they're gonna win another game for a little while. And like I told you guys, they're gonna be 4-6 in about 4 weeks on last week's podcast. And it's looking like we're getting close to that because they play the Colts this week. And if they lose to the Colts, they're going to end up being like, I think like a half game above the Ravens or something like that. Only a game above the Ravens, who started the season 1-5. So, I don't know. Like the Ravens are in a good spot. Like of all the things you could say about the Ravens, I'd say they're in a really good spot. They play nobody the rest of their season. I think they finish with like, who do they play? I know they play the Packers. And then maybe the Patriots. So like they play the Patriots and the Packers, and those are their two like big games in weeks like 16 and 17. But outside of that, they play a bunch of nobodies. I don't think anybody else on their schedule has a winning record right now, besides the Steelers, who probably not going to be true for much longer. So the Ravens are going to win that division. I don't know how well they're going to do when they get to the playoffs, but they looked good tonight against a very bad Dolphins team. Tua added insult to injury in the fourth quarter. He tried to throw another interception directly to a linebacker again. He just didn't see Roquan Smith at all, and Roquan Smith just dropped the ball. Really did him a favor, honestly, because Tua now leads the league in interceptions with 11. And then just had the saddest intentional grounding. Maybe not the saddest, because Dylan Gabriel's from last week was even worse. But, I don't know. The Dolphins, even though they looked put together last week, even though they looked like they maybe had figured something out, maybe they wanted to fight for their coach's job. The lack of discipline tonight, the way that they played, the way that they had a chance in this game, and it still ended with their fans booing them off the field after every possession. It's probably enough to get somebody fired tonight, and that's unfortunate, but that's just the truth, because you can't play like that against a team who is, I mean, they have Lamar Jackson, fine, but they're 2-5. I get that you're 2-6, but you had the opportunity to jump on them, and you failed 1,000 different ways. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a head coaching vacancy starting tomorrow in Miami. I'm sure there's others who probably go as well, but it looked horrendous tonight, and that's saying something. Like, it was bad for a Thursday night game, which is saying something. So I'm going to give our Let Him Know Player of the Week to Lamar Jackson this week. He let him know. He came back and he let him know. He said, I'm not gambling. And he looked good. Like, he looked like he was able to do all the things he wanted to do. I don't know. It's hard to say, like, with certainty when somebody's back to 100%, you know? But he didn't look like he was running through mud or anything like that. So I think he'll be fine. I don't know who they play next, but it's probably some dog shit team. So they'll be all right. And they have a long break between now and their next game, which is probably why they didn't want to play him last weekend. And then the Bears gifted them a win with Tyler Huntley. So I don't know. It was definitely a bummer of a Thursday night game, but hey, Ellie and I both picked the Ravens, so it's really of no consequence. Now, let's get into our weekend preview this week. Um, Still some not so great games. I think really what it is there are a lot of not so great teams in the NFL right now. There's not like a bunch of premier matchups that I'm super excited to see. Weirdly enough, the Texans have one this weekend. We'll start with Broncos at Texans. Houston somehow favored by 1.5. Um, I don't know if that has to do with the fact that Pat Surtain is out of this game, probably going on IR with a pec injury. That was never who I was worried about with this Texans offense versus the Broncos defense. The Broncos defense has 36 sacks this season. That's 10 more than Los Angeles Rams, who have the second most sacks in the league. I know that the Texans had a good game offensively against the 49ers last weekend. I know that they didn't let CJ get sacked one time during that entire game. I'm aware of that, right? But I've seen this team twice now this season, go play horrible football against teams with good defenses. It looks like their offense is stuck in mud and they can't do anything. Then I've watched them go beat up on some really crappy teams and, give us a sense of hope that they can go out and do something impressive now because, oh, maybe the offense is fixed. Then they go out to Seattle and get their ass kicked by a defense that actually knows how to play football. And now I worry that we're back on the other end of the pendulum where it's okay, well, we came back, we went home, and we beat a team that doesn't really have anyone left standing on their defense, and the offense looked good, so maybe they're good again. Um, I don't know. I I don't really know how to feel about this game. I'm very concerned because the Texans are always on life support the way they started their season. Um, they have to be able to protect CJ Stroud, which shockingly, CJ Stroud has only been sacked 15 times this year, and that is tied before tonight's game. It was tied for 14th in the NFL with Lamar Jackson, who has only played 4 games and he's been sacked 14 times or 15 times as well. So I thought that was interesting. Um, I don't know that it's indicative of how well the offensive line has been playing because I feel like when the Texans really get in trouble, right, when they really, really, really go up against these good defensive lines, maybe it doesn't always show up in a million sacks. Maybe it doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but it'll show up as Woody Marks or Nick Chubb running into a wall where the offensive line just gets no push, or some crazy play that Nick Caley draws up gets immediately blown up because there's people in the backfield getting penetration, and CJ Stroud has to just run and throw it away almost immediately, or just throw up a prayer to nobody in particular. Um, so yeah, CJ Stroud hasn't been sacked a ton. I think he's 21 or 19 or something like that behind Cam Ward, who has 34. What's 9 plus 10? Um, I just don't know. I don't have confidence in this team's ability to protect CJ Stroud. And, like, basically what I'm trying to say is I don't think the offense is going to look anything like it did last week against the 49ers. I just think this is going to be a bad week for the offense. Now, the thing that makes me feel really good about this game is that it's at home. I don't know how much that actually means because the last couple games it's been mostly visiting fans in the stadium. But, it's at home. If the defense is able to force Bo Nix to be a Boethius level player on Sunday, early on especially, they can get the crowd into it. I do think Bo Nix is a very streaky player. Right now he's been on a really good streak, basically fourth quarter Giants game through the Cowboys game. But I don't think that he's played a defense like this Texans defense in a while, at least. I'll be very interested to see how he looks against them. I know that he can have a little bit of the bad Josh Allen in him at times where he just spams all the buttons on his controller and just, tries to be a hero. And I think if you try and do that against this Texans defense, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to have some turnovers. So I think that's what the Texans are going to be relying on. I think they need to get 2+ turnovers to have a chance to win this game. Bo Nix has only been sacked 8 times this season, and I think the Texans need to basically double that to have a chance as well. They need to get in his face. They need to force him to make a mistake, essentially. That's what we're counting on, is forcing Bo Nix to make a couple mistakes, and we need to capitalize on them because we haven't been the best at doing that either. So that's the keys to this game. I think that Nico Collins is going to be back, so that will be good. Again, I don't know that it matters who's out there wide receiver if we can't protect CJ. But if you do have a chance to throw the ball, Get Nico Collins involved. Keep Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins involved as well. They seem to play really good at home. So keep them involved. And then Woody Marks, he popped up on the injury report today with a calf injury. We need him out there. And we need to get the ground game going to slow down that pass rush. If we're one dimensional on Sunday, we're never going to have a chance. Um, I don't know. I'll be at the game. Ellie will be at the game. She's literally taking like one day off in between work. Or like she set up her schedule to have one day off in between work to go to this game. And I think she's working like 3 nights before, 3 nights afterwards. So she is giving her everything to this team. Both of us are sacrificing a lot to be there. We need other Texans fans to be in the stadium and to be loud and stop selling your tickets to Broncos fans. I had someone in our comment section whenever I posted the video of basically the stadium being full of 49ers fans. Someone commented like, "Well, it's cuz you're sitting in the visitors section." It's not a high school football game. These people's parents aren't coming to the game and like bringing their whole family. I'm sure there's one or two families in the crowd, but there should not be a visitors section in a home game. Like Highmark Stadium, they don't have a visitors section. It's all Buffalo Bills fans there. You know what I mean? There's no visitors section at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. There's no visitors section in Lambeau. It's just all Packers fans there, just filling out every seat. Maybe if you're lucky, you can see a couple fans peppered in around. But there should never be an entire half of the stadium filled with another team's fans. That's just not normal. And that's just, I don't know if it's laziness. I don't know if it's just like people being money hungry in this city. But go to the game and be in your seat and be loud. I don't think that's too much to ask. All that to be said, like I will be hoping, praying, wishing, cheering so hard that the Texans win this game. But I just have a really bad feeling about facing a defense like this. And so I'm picking the Broncos. I'm sure Ellie will stay true and pick the Texans, but I actually don't have any of her picks right now. She's working, and it sounds like she's putting out a lot of fires at work right now. So I told her just get me her picks by the time I put out the graphic on Sunday morning. So if you want our official picks for the competition, which I am now leading 5-3, by the way, go follow us on TikTok at ANEOKD. And yeah, show us some love on our TikToks, but then also find out who our picks are for this weekend. Let me just double check that I'm still recording because I get so nervous about that. I think I just took a screenshot of my watch. Okay, we're good. All right, let's move on. Next game, Falcons at Patriots, New England by 5.5. The Falcons have looked horrible the last couple weeks. They have a million people questionable for this game. There's two that they really need back, and it's Michael Penix Jr. and Drake London. I think I talked about it last week with Ellie, where I was saying that the Falcons have zero depth at wide receiver. I mean, without Drake London out there, there's nobody to throw to besides Kyle Pitts, legend Kyle Pitts. And I mean, Kirk Cousins just didn't look like he had it anymore last weekend. So if this team wants to have a chance, again, I don't know how good the Patriots are really. Honestly, this is their last like tough-ish test until they play the Bills. And even the Bills don't have a great defense. So like if Drake May can play well and survive this game, he's got like a pretty clear shot at MVP unless Jonathan Taylor keeps scoring like 3 touchdowns a game. Like that's the only way he's going to win the MVP. But yeah, I don't know. They need their guys back on offense because this is going to be a tough fight for them otherwise. They just did not look good last week, and I think that they need Michael Penix to at least have some threat to run the football, some mobility in the pocket, and then, I don't know, have that connection with Drake London back. It's kind of a little bit messed up for Kirk Cousins that he had to play in that game with nobody to throw to, but I think they need both of them back to have a chance. The Patriots have yet to allow any one ball carrier to go for 50 yards on the ground, I'm pretty sure. I don't care. I think you need to feed Bijan anyway. Last week they gave the ball to him 9 times. Basically gave up on the run almost immediately. I know he fumbled in the red zone or something like that. But that's your only hope if you're this Falcons team. Like, yes, Drake London is very good. but he's only ever open if people are afraid that Bijan Robinson is going to run through their face at any given moment. So you need to make sure that you establish the run against this Patriots team. Be the first one to do it. That's the only way you're going to win this game. I don't know. I still think that the Patriots will win this game. That's who I'm picking, at home especially, because I don't trust this Falcons team at all. But if they can get a lot of their defense healthy and they can get after Drake May, I think they can, I mean, Cleveland wasn't able to do it super effectively last weekend, and I think their defense is much better than the Falcons. Maybe not much. Maybe not even better. I don't know. Um, like, the Falcons don't have Myles Garrett, is what I mean by that. Myles Garrett got 5 sacks last week, and it didn't matter. So, I don't know. I'm picking the Patriots because I just don't think that the Falcons are good enough to beat them. And then, the Patriots, they're going to roll on through. They might end up being like, you know, they might get to 15 wins this season somehow. So, I don't know. We'll see. Again, don't have Elliott's picks, so we'll move on to Chargers at Titans. I don't know. For a team that I thought was in free fall, the Chargers are going to end up being 6-3 after this week, I'm pretty sure. Like, somehow, some way, they have managed to come out of this little tailspin that they were in. Really, that Miami game is looming large now, where they really got bailed out. Yeah, they'll be 6-3 after this weekend, assuming they beat the Titans, which is obviously I'm picking the Chargers because I don't think the Titans will win another game this year. The Chargers beat the crap out of the Vikings last week. They have just looked infinitely better since Joe Wallace has come back. And again, the Titans are not going to put up much of a fight against this team, I don't think, even at home. I'm just so sick of watching the Titans play football. I don't get it. Like, they almost never, like the Cardinals game was a different story, but like they almost never have a chance to win football games, and yet they are always playing like they're trying not to lose. And it's embarrassing a little bit. Like, maybe you're trying to protect Cam Ward because you're afraid he's going to get hit a billion times and turn into dust. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to like ruin his confidence by just having him out there throwing the ball 50 times a game and completing half of them. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is, but like we pointed out last week, that fourth down where Cam Ward wanted to go for it, they punt the ball away, and the very next play, Jonathan Taylor goes for 80 yards. That's demoralizing for a young quarterback who can see in front of his face, hey, look, I told you not to give the ball back to them, and look what happened. And I was right, and nobody's listening to me, and this sucks, and like, it can't feel good to play for Tennessee right now. I don't know. I don't want to watch him play anymore. And so now I think Justin Herbert's going to win this game, and they'll be 6-3. I don't even think Justin Herbert needs to be good Justin Herbert to win. I think the Chargers win this game no matter what. The next game, Bears at Bengals, Chicago by 2.5. Now the Bears fumbled last week. They were playing against Snoop Huntley and the Ravens when they thought they might be facing Lamar. It's the same thing that I said about the Texans whenever we went in there to play. Now, it wasn't Cooper Rush, so it wasn't as bad, but like, if you already went ahead and penciled that in as a loss for the Bears whenever you thought they were going to play the Ravens, and then you get a chance to play Snoop Huntley and you lose, that is demoralizing. Feels like you're leaving crumbs on the table there. So I don't know. I think that they are a decent team. I don't know how good they're going to be this year. I think Caleb Williams looks okay. We're really rooting for him here on this podcast. I just don't know if it's all clicking yet for him. And so hopefully he can get right against this Bengals defense, because it seems like everybody's doing it. I mean, the Bengals are coming off a horrific loss, an embarrassing loss to the Jets last week, where they gave up 2 14-point leads. And that on top of that, speaking of embarrassing, the Bengals, so they're playing at home this week, gonna have home field advantage, maybe, right? There's a story circulating on Reddit right now, and I'll pull it up for you right now, where some fans are calling to cancel their season tickets. So this is on r/Bengals, which maybe is like a really sad place to be right now. And the title of this post is, "If you canceled your season tickets, how'd it go?" And so basically this fan is telling the story about how about what happened when he called to cancel his tickets. He said, I called today to my. Hold up, let me start over. I called today to cancel my Bengals season tickets for next year, and the whole conversation felt super guilt trippy and argumentative. I was asked if I only wanted to be a season ticket holder when we go to the playoffs, and am I just being emotional for losing to the Jets? Loaded questions already. I mean, yeah, I would like to be a season ticket holder when they go to the playoffs, but I mean, it's been a long time for the Bengals, hasn't it? And can you blame someone for being emotional after that loss to the Jets? The poster continues. They asked why I was so unhappy. They asked why I was unhappy, so I said that I'm frustrated with the front office, mainly the lack of a real scouting department, bad drafts, and how the prices keep going up steeply every year since I joined. Instead of just taking the feedback, they got defensive and said things like, this is the front office who drafted Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. The last thing being asked to me was if I wanted cheap tickets or to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's, I mean, it's unverifiable, right? Like, I guess, like, you could just say anything online, but that is a crazy response to get from the team's ticket office. Because don't you have a wait list? Why are you worried about one person canceling their season tickets, first of all? Which maybe, like, I don't know. The Bengals front office is so ridiculous and so stingy and so, especially like the owner, like, that's the vibe that he gives off. It's just like, just a super, like, stingy guy who is, like, gonna stick it to his, like, fans by being like, what, you don't love me anymore? You don't love me because I suck at this? So I don't know. I can see this being like team policy to like harass the fans for asking for money back. Um, but yeah, I just keep imagining like because my family has had season tickets to the Texans since they were established in 2002, and we have seen them go to the playoffs. What, maybe like 6 7 times. Um, and like it's never really crossed my mind to ask to sell them. My mom has definitely gotten frustrated, right? She's definitely over it some years. She's definitely asks like, "Hey, we could take a nice vacation with the money we spend on these. Why do we keep wasting our money every year?" Um, but it's never occurred to me or my dad really, and certainly not Ellie these past couple of years to sell them, right? Like my name, my parents' names are on the glass wall outside the stadium of inaugural season ticket holders. It means a lot to us, right? There are times during our tenure as fans where I would have loved to have given a call to the Texans front office and said, "What the hell is going on? What are we doing here? You know, I'm spending a lot of money on this every single year for you to just fuck around. You know, for you to hire people like Jack Easterby and just have him fucking up the whole team for no reason. Like, why are you letting a pastor make decisions for this football team? Why are you letting Bill O'Brien trade DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of chips? A lot of things that I've wanted to call about. And I just wonder how that conversation would have gone, you know? Because, again, I'll never be in a position to try this, but I am fascinated by the fact that they are, like, fully pushing back on every argument that he brings up, saying, like, well, we drafted Joe Burrow, we drafted T. Higgins. You can't really be mad at us for that, right? Like, clearly our front office is good. Yeah, our star pass rusher is probably going to leave next season because we don't want to pay him any money. And yeah, we couldn't even sign our first round draft pick this year because we were trying to screw him out of an injury clause in his contract. That's fairly standard for all intents and purposes in the NFL. And yeah, our owner's a goblin who is like trying his hardest to wring every single cent out of his fans and doesn't provide any amenities for the players' families or anything like that. But I mean, hey, money doesn't grow on trees. So if you want to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, this is what we have to do. We have to charge you more, actually. We have to charge you more because our billionaire owner can't be asked to give more money. I don't know. This is just a crazy response, and things are not going well in the jungle in the jungle in Cincinnati. So I don't know. I think Joe Flacco and the Bengals experiment here. You know, it's fun whenever they're playing well. Like they look decent on offense. They scored 38 points last week, but that defense is so atrocious, and I think that the Bears are good enough to take advantage of that. So I'm picking the Bears, and the Bengals are probably going to start to fall by the wayside here whenever the Ravens come to town. So, I don't know, Bengals fans, just hold on for dear life, I guess. I guess you're hoping and praying that Joe Burrow will actually come back here pretty soon. But right now, you're just holding on for dear life and hoping that something goes well for you. Um, I just don't think it's going to happen this weekend. Um, Next up, Colts at Steelers. Indianapolis by 3.5. That's a really interesting line to me because, yeah, the Colts are going on the road. But, I mean, the Steelers have not looked good this season. And the Colts have scored 270 points on offense. I think that's like 100. The Texans have only scored like 150. So I'm pretty sure that's okay, so let's see. Yeah, the Colts 270. Is anybody else even close? The Cowboys are the next closest with 246. Can you believe that the Cowboys' point differential is negative with that number? That's crazy. But yeah, the Colts have the best point differential in the league. They have a plus 116 point differential. And yet, Vegas doesn't think they're that much better than the Steelers, which is really interesting to me. Now, I am still waiting for the Colts to come back down to earth. I don't think that they can be this good. I don't really understand how or why they would be, you know? I don't get it. Their defense is good. I fear DeForest Buckner every time he comes into NRG Stadium. But I can't for the life of me figure out why they're good or why Daniel Jones all of a sudden decided to be good at football, you know? So I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop. It just happened. It just is like every other week or every week. It just feels more and more like wishful thinking rather than something I actually believe. So I don't know. I'm picking the Colts in this because I just don't think the Steelers are very good, and I need to stick to my guns because I predicted the Steelers would be 4-6 in 2 weeks, and I think that's still going to be the case. Um, I don't know. Like I said, I'd love for the Steelers to win and start to show some cracks in the Colts game, but I think Jonathan Taylor's going to run wild over that defense. I don't think that defense can stop anybody. I don't think the Colts can be stopped for some reason. I don't know. If you can figure it out, let me know. But we'll move on to 49ers at Giants. San Francisco by 2.5. Man, the 49ers offense looked atrocious against the Texans last weekend. And Christian McCaffrey did nothing all day until the final drive. He got some cheap fantasy points, and that was about it. Um, Now the Giants defense is good, but it's not Texans good. I don't know how that translates, like what the transitive property is between the 49ers playing the Texans and then going to play the Giants. I do know they're on the road again, so really for a team that's been injured a lot, they're facing the final boss of injuries. It's MetLife's turf. I am hoping and praying that everybody gets out of this game okay because both of these teams have suffered horrific injuries this year. Really, really, really devastating injuries to their team's playoff hopes and things like that. Star players going down for both of these teams. I just think that the Giants are going to try and go out and win this game for Cam Scatabo. And, they're fresh off of like a very emotional loss to when they ended up losing Cam Scatabo in the first place. And now, like, looking at the 49ers, I think the injuries are starting to catch up with them. I think that Mac Jones has Mac Jones as hard as you can, and I think that it's starting to run out of gas. So, again, shout out to that woman who got into it with me in the staircase of NRG because she was convinced that the 49ers were still in first place. They're not. They're in third in their division. I think they probably lose again to the Giants here. And I think Brock Purdy's going to come back next week, but they might be beginning their fall. I think they were punching way above their weight the first couple games of the season. I don't know how they were 5-2 coming into Houston last week, but they did not look like it on the field. And I think the Giants are going to beat them again this week. So I'm going with Giants, and I'm sure Elliott probably will too. But again, we'll let you know on Sunday. Speaking of injuries, next game, Vikings at Lions, Detroit by 9.5. I think the Lions are going to roll in this one no matter who the quarterback is. So Lions fans, forgive me if you don't hear a ton of talk about your team because this game is not going to be close, I don't think. I think that they are going to roll over this Vikings defense who hasn't been getting a lot of help from their offense, but man, they just could not stop the Chargers to save their lives last week. Um, my question, though, the one thing I want to talk about for this game, one, J.J. McCarthy coming back from a high ankle sprain that was supposed to keep him out 2 to 4 weeks. That happened about 7 weeks ago, I think, 6 or 7 weeks ago. Um, and Carson Wentz, his season is over now. He's having shoulder surgery, apparently for an injury that occurred like 3 weeks ago. And so I just want to take us back to that last Thursday night game where we saw the Vikings lose by 1 million to the Chargers. And just ask, who was hurt worse going into that game? Okay? JJ McCarthy, obviously he wasn't out there taking those hits, so I don't know how he's going to, he could have gotten up slower than Carson Wentz did every time because of how much he was hurting. I don't know, He seemed pretty nimble on the sideline when he was hurdling those guys. But every time Carson Wentz took a shot, every time he went down in the pocket, he was wincing in pain, holding his arm basically couldn't let his shoulder hang from his side. He couldn't do it. And he's almost to the point of tears, exasperated on the bench, clearly hurting, right? Taking a beating out there. And now to hear that injury actually occurred 3 weeks ago and he's just been playing through it. For what? To what end? I don't know if you just don't give a shit about Carson Wentz. If you're the Vikings and you look and you have two quarterbacks who are injured, both of them. One of them is a first round draft pick that you really want to see what you have in, and the other one is Carson Wentz, who you don't give a shit if he lives or dies. And so you just say, all right, Carson, you go out there until JJ's 1,000% healthy, and whenever your body gives out, we'll let you have season-ending surgery and you don't have to play anymore. That's one option, sure. The other option is they just don't believe in JJ McCarthy, and they thought that a dying Carson Wentz was better than I don't know, 80-90% JJ McCarthy. But it's interesting to me that as soon as Carson Wentz has shown everybody that he physically cannot play anymore, they're like, okay, well, it's actually perfect timing because JJ McCarthy, perfectly healthy now, and Carson Wentz can go ahead and get that surgery now. We can get it scheduled right now. I don't know. That's my question to you guys is, do you think Carson Wentz or JJ McCarthy was more injured over the last 3 weeks of the season? Do you think that either one, which one of them do you think should have played at the level that they presented? Because Carson Wentz, again, looked like he was going through hell that whole game. JJ McCarthy's smiling, dancing on the sideline. So, I don't know. Again, I'm picking the Lions in this game because JJ McCarthy's played one good quarter of football. But that's a question to think about this weekend as you watch him play. There's also, before I move on, there's also some talks about the reason why Carson Wentz stayed in that game so long, and that was because the Vikings didn't want Brosmer, the undrafted rookie, to go in there and look better than J.J. McCarthy has all season. I don't know how much credence there is to that. I don't know how good Max Brosmer is at quarterback. I didn't watch much of him in the preseason. But I don't know. Something suspicious is happening in the quarterback room in Minnesota, and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure we're going to find out sooner or later. Next game, last game of the 12 o'clock games, Panthers at Packers, Green Bay by 13.5. And that feels about right. The Packers finally seemed to kick it into full gear against the Steelers last weekend, in the second half especially. They were kind of toying around with teams kind of outside of the Lions, right? Kind of keeping bad teams around. Lost to the Browns, almost lost to the Cardinals. Just kind of toying, playing with their food. And then in the second half against the Steelers, they just unleashed the beast. And Jordan Love went crazy. I think the Packers roll here. Good news for Panthers fans is that Bryce Young is back. So they probably will go down by 1 million, right? They'll probably end up down by 20 or 30 in the first half. But they will probably claw back in to lose by 8 or something with Bryce Young back. Because he is the CEO of CP3, hits a huge 3 to cut the lead down to 42. That is his whole MO. He'll probably start this game with a fumble, an interception, something that Panthers fans swear only Andy Dalton does. He'll probably, have like 50 yards passing in the first half. Probably finished with like 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and then just like the 1 fumble. Probably look like a crazy game on the stat sheet, but I think the Packers are going to go up by 1,000,000. And if the Panthers happen to, accidentally their way back into this game, I won't be surprised. So the 13.5 line feels like a lot. I wouldn't take that, but the Packers are probably going to win this game. So I'm picking the Packers. Moving on to the 3 o'clock games. Jaguars at Raiders. Jacksonville by 2.5. I think it's hilarious that Jacksonville's only favored by 2.5 points over this Raiders team. I guess they're getting Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers back. I don't know. I don't know if Vegas has watched these Raiders play football over the last couple of weeks, but they cannot beat anybody. I mean, they got pretty close to beating the Bears, but we've seen how that's gone for them in the weeks since. I don't know. Both teams are coming off a bye this week, and last weekend didn't cross my mind one time. Watched an entire weekend of NFL football. Never once thought, wonder where the Jaguars and the Raiders are right now. I haven't seen a lot from their games. Just completely head empty. I don't know. I was trying to find something to say, like, okay, maybe the Raiders can win this. And maybe they mess around and do it anyway. But I was like, oh, Bowers is coming back. Surely that boosts the offense, right? Let me go ahead and see if I can get, like, one of those stats that we saw tonight about Lamar, where, like, the Ravens offense scores, like, negative 15 points without him, and they score, like, 1,000,000 with him in there, right? And I went back and I looked to see all the games that Brock Bowers has played in this season. Really, outside the first one, the Raiders offense just hasn't been good, period. Like, they just have not looked good. I don't remember if Brock Bowers picked up his injury in that first game or not. I think maybe he did. And so maybe he wasn't 100%, and they were just kind of like, I don't know. He was like kind of going through the motions out there, doing best he could. But the only game that they looked any type of good was that week 1 win over the Patriots. Since then, it's been bad. So, I don't know. The good news for the Raiders is that Devin Lloyd is still questionable for the Jaguars, but I think they probably still get it done regardless. So, I'm picking the Jags there, even though they're only favored by 2.5. Next game is Saints at Rams. LA by 14.5. That seems about right. They're playing in Los Angeles. The Saints fans, I don't know if the Saints travel very well. It doesn't strike me like a team that would have fans that travel very well. This might be the Rams' first true home game of the season, because even the fans that would travel probably don't have a good reason to at this point. I mean, maybe you want to see Tyler Shuck make his first start because he's going to be out there shucking it up. He's been named the starter for this week officially. I don't know, you kind of feel bad for Spencer Rattler, even though he got a lot of chances. I don't know if it was ever going to work out in the NFL for him. I really feel bad for him over the stretch of time that I've known about Spencer Rattler, right? Because he came out of high school, I think, and he was I think they were trying to do LeBron style documentaries about him, about how he was this almost surefire prospect, the number 1 quarterback in the nation, who was just going to light the NCAA on fire and head straight to number 1 overall in the draft. And I think there were moments when he was playing it at South Carolina, where he was that guy, right, for stretches of time there. And then all of a sudden he wasn't. I don't watch college football. I turn it on, but I don't keep track of anything that's happening. I see tons of guys who go out there and seemingly suck on Saturdays, like Will Levis, for instance. I watch people go out there and suck, or like Bo Nix, I guess, right? Go out there and suck for years at a time, and all of a sudden they end up being first, second overall prospects, first round picks, second round picks. And so I don't know. Sometimes guys just seem to be people want them in the NFL. They have intangibles or a prototypical build. I don't know. Sometimes people Drew Aller is someone who people are still talking about for a first round pick, and I don't really understand that at all. But when Spencer Rattler lost his job at South Carolina or whatever and went to Oklahoma and then lost his job to Caleb Williams, it really just felt like this tumultuous crash out of nowhere, because obviously I wasn't watching any of his games, but it was a name that you always heard. And he had so much promise, and then all of a sudden he was not even starting on a team at all. Then he gets maybe drafted, undrafted, I don't know, but like just shows up in New Orleans and somehow actually gets a chance, you know? And you would have thought after the way that he was projected like first overall pick one year and then went like fell all the way down to like the 7th round or something like that. You would think that his journey was over, and he got a chance to start I think 13 NFL games and then won only one of them with a team that I think was doomed from the start. So I don't know. It's probably a mixed bag, right? Because you start with that documentary in high school and you think, yeah, I'm destined for great things, you know, and to an extent he was, right? He went and he had a good college career, made it to the NFL and played in more games than most people will ever play in. So, you know, huge respect to him for that. But then, yeah, on the other side, you have that moment in college where you're like, okay, well, like maybe I won't even get to play in the NFL at all, even though a couple months ago I was going to be the number one overall pick. And to come back and, you know, fight through that adversity and make it back onto the roster, good for him. It feels a little bit unceremonious that it's just okay, yeah, it's Tyler Shuck now. Who cares? I guess that's the NFL, right? And I don't know if Tyler Shuck's going to be any good. He didn't look amazing last week, but whatever. The only thing that really matters is that Puka Nacua is back this game. It's over for the Saints. They're going to get blown out. So I'm picking the Rams. But the game of the week is Chiefs at Bills, Kansas City by 2.5. Now this one is the one that we're all going to be looking forward to this weekend. Really sucks that this isn't Sunday Night Football, but I get it. Like they can't have it every week. The Chiefs would be in primetime like a million weeks in a row if that were the case. Really interesting stat here. These teams have played each other 8 times over the last 4 years, once in the regular season and once in the playoffs every single year. The Bills have won every single regular season game since 2021, while the Chiefs have sent the Bills home in the playoffs every single year. So the Bills are 4-0 in the regular season, 0-4 in the postseason against the Chiefs. That's a crazy stat, right? Like I talk about it a lot on this podcast, but that's the definition. That's the exact reason why whenever people post Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld content, nobody gets mad. But when people post Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift content, people lose their goddamn minds, right? Because Josh Allen, well, maybe he'll win this game, right? He might win this game. I've picked the Chiefs, but maybe he wins this game. But he has not won anything of note in the playoffs, right? He's lost this game 4 times in a row. That's it's unfortunate because I really like Josh Allen, but that's what he does. He loses these games when it matters, right? And so, I don't know. I think the Bills have not looked great this year. I think they bounced back in a big way with the win over the Panthers last week. But, I mean, before that, they lost to the Patriots. Drake May didn't even have a touchdown pass in that game, but the Bills just couldn't get anything going. The ball was rolling all over the turf all night. And then they got blown out by a Falcons team that I don't think is very good at all. So, I don't know what's going on with the Bills. They beat a really bad Panthers team with Andy Dalton at quarterback. And I mean, James Cook was the one who did a lot of the heavy lifting. I think he had like 215 yards on the ground or something like that. I think he's going to need to carry the load again here because Josh Allen really hasn't been asked to do a lot since week 1 and that comeback win over the Ravens. And I just don't know if he has the weapons on the outside to answer that call. If he is asked to come back from a deficit or go drive down the field with all passing through the air in the last 2 minutes of a game. I just don't know if they have the weapons on the outside for that. Obviously, I think Josh Allen's still a really good quarterback. He just doesn't have his best stuff this year, or he just doesn't have the best supporting cast that he's ever had. And clearly it's holding this offense back. I don't know what's different about it, but they just don't look as explosive through the air as they have in years past. James Cook has been the one who's really been breaking these games open and really keeping them in games when they could be they really struggle with like teams like the Saints, and like even the Jets kept it close for a little while. I don't know. The only good news for the Bills is that their main defense is their inability to stop the run. Like that's the one thing they struggle with the most. And the Chiefs haven't been great at running the ball at all. The thing that makes me a little bit worried for Bills fans is that Patrick Mahomes has been almost the leading rusher for the Chiefs this season, and it feels like one or two of those back-breaking scrambles are on the cards, unfortunately. Um, I don't know. I don't know that Isaiah Pacheco is going to get it going today or this Sunday. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against this Bills defense because he hasn't been able to do that against anyone. Um, but I do know that Patrick Mahomes usually goes and gets it when it matters. And so that's what I'd be worried about whenever you talk about the Bills' run defense. As for the Chiefs, they're 11th in the league versus the run, and they're second in the league in scoring. So the Bills are going to have a tough task on their hands, especially if they want to lean on James Cook. Like, the Chiefs are going to make that hard for them. And they're going to ask Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman to beat them and Dalton Kincaid to beat them. I don't know. I think the Chiefs will finally flip the script in the regular season. But hey, maybe that means the Bills will win in the playoffs. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think the Chiefs probably win this one. They just look like the better team. I know the Bills had a huge game, but it was against much worse competition than who the Chiefs have been really putting it on lately. So, I don't know. I think I'm going with Chiefs there. Move on to Sunday Night Football. Seahawks at Commanders. Jaden Daniels is back. Terry McLaurin is gone again. So, it really is like a revolving door for the Commanders right now. I think Terry literally came back for the one game that Jaden missed and then switched back again. I don't know how hurt Terry McLaurin is, but it didn't sound like it was super severe this time. Hopefully Jaden Daniels is actually healthy. I think he was practicing in full already this week, so it's probably okay. I mean, the last time we saw the Seahawks, they were beating the crap out of the Texans on Monday night. Even though their offense didn't look great, like their defense stopped the Texans from doing anything all night, essentially. I think that Jaden Daniels is much better equipped to avoid the pressure, climb the pocket, make sure the ball gets out, or take off and run with it than CJ Stroud is. And so I think that they'll have better success through the air than the Texans did. But the Seahawks are tops in the league against the run. I don't think that Bill Krosky-Merritt is going to have a ton of room to run. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of the production is going to be from Jaden Daniels breaking containment, getting outside the pocket, and running for first downs. And I don't know. Maybe they can do that enough times to win. But I'm looking at Marshawn Lattimore. I'm thinking about the matchup against Jackson Smith and Jigba, especially because I'm starting JSN in fantasy this week. And I'm licking my lips because it's going to be barbecue chicken on Sunday night. So we'll see. We'll see if Sam Darnold can turn it around because the Commanders' defense is certainly no Texans' defense. And I'm picking the Seahawks in this game because the Commanders still aren't at full strength. And I know they're probably desperate to win this game because they got to have it. But I think it might just not be their year this year. So I'm going to go with Seahawks to keep it rolling. And we'll move on to Monday Night Football, which is Cardinals at Cowboys. Dallas by 2.5. This game is not good. I'm glad that it's standalone, right? So maybe we can start recording early on Monday, but this game is not. I'm not looking super forward to this game. I think the Cowboys offense will be fun to watch play. But I don't know. I mean, like, both of these teams are essentially on life support right now. So like the Cardinals, they're 2-5. They're probably already done, right? The way they've been playing and the way that they've lost a couple games this season when they really snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. But they're definitely on life support, leaning towards finished. And the Cowboys, they're 3-4-1 now after that embarrassing loss to Denver. They want to stay competitive. They need to win this game as well. I don't know. I don't know what to say about this game. Like, Kyler Murray might be returning. Cardinals fans, is that a good thing? Do we want Kyler Murray in there? I don't know. I heard that Battlefield dropped their new free-to-play Battle Royale mode. Might not be a ton of game prep going on for Kyler this week. I don't know. Obviously, I think Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, right? I know that in my head. But the way that the Cardinals offense has been moving with Jacoby in there, as long as the game's not on the line, like, they've looked pretty good. And I don't know how well Kyler Murray wins you those other games anyway. So I don't really know how to feel about the Cardinals. All I know is that they make me feel bad. Um, Now, they might be able to get it going a little bit because the Cowboys defense is allowing 31.3 points per game this season. That's a lot of points. The Cardinals haven't exactly been lighting the world on fire on offense, but I don't know. Hopefully, Marvin Harrison Jr. can get going against this defense because he needs to step it up now. Um, but I don't know. I just think at least one of these teams should remain competitive, and I don't think it can be the Cardinals. So I'm picking the Cowboys. Again, we'll get all of Ellie's picks on Sunday morning when I make all the graphics and stuff like that. So check our TikTok, our Instagram, YouTube for that. It's at ANEOKD on TikTok and YouTube, and then on Kirby Drive on Instagram. But if you really want to keep up with us, I always post to TikTok first, YouTube second, and then Instagram third if I have time, which I haven't lately. So TikTok is definitely the best place to keep up with like our short form stuff, and then you can follow us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts for the long form stuff. Um, but yeah, that's gonna do it for our NFL weekend preview. I think the World Series is probably gonna wrap up here this weekend. They're gonna go back to Toronto. The Blue Jays leading 3-2 after a crazy game during our last recording, and then they got to Shohei Ohtani a little bit in Game 5, right? And now they're going back to Toronto with a 3-2 lead. And man, if Toronto can pull this off, it'll only lend credence to my theory that baseball is the one sport where I think the best team wins the least often. Not to say the Blue Jays aren't good, but I feel like every single season there's like a super team or a team that's like clearly the best team in baseball. And then there's always some random streaky team that just comes up and, wins the World Series. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe it'll be done by the time we record our next episode and we can talk about it a little bit more whenever Ellie's back. We definitely need to tune into that more. But anyways, yeah, let us know how you feel about our picks. Let us know if which games you're excited about. Let us know how your team's doing so far this season. And we'll see you next time. But thank you so much for watching. I've been Aaron, and this has been Aaron and Ellie on Kirby Drive. See ya.